Hi, Rasmus.
Hello.
Can you give you a short introduction about yourself?
Okay, short introduction. My name is Rasmus, also known as Cargobikestar. I'm a dad, parent. I live and work in Malmö, Sweden. And I've been riding cargo bikes since 2014. Currently, I'm working within project management, customer relations, sales, in the telco communication business.
How did you get into cargo biking, and why did you then decide to start an Instagram account about it?
Well, I started out riding cargo bikes, or a cargo bike, long before I actually started on my Instagram account. I acquired my first cargo bike in 2014 when I had my first kid. And back then it was a little bit like, okay, there is no car, there's no need for a car actually, but there was something missing. There was a little bit of, there was a need to move around within the city because suddenly you had a kid that needed to be entertained and go on adventures. So I acquired the first, or me and my previous partners acquired the first cargo bike. And from there, I have probably visited all the playgrounds in Malmö, and I've been to the beach and so on. So I started riding the cargo bike there. Fast forward some years, I think it was just before Greta Thunberg started talking about the climate change. I was in a bad position in life. I'm going to spare you the details. That's part of my life. So I needed something to keep me happy. And I was testing a little bit. I jumped into working out quite a lot. I jumped into a previous interest I had back then, which was wine collecting. And I was like playing around, trying different things to kind of like identify what's making me happy. And what I didn't realize was I had been doing it all along. And that was actually riding the cargo bike. It was such a joy and it was such a pleasure to be outside in nature with my kids or without my kids. And I just decided to go all in on that one morning on my way to work and say, okay, this is going to be the day where I change. This is going to be the day where I just go all in. And back then I had no clue where that would take me really. I had no idea. I was just like, okay, let's do this. Let's have some fun and let's experiment a lot with it. And from there on, it had actually just grown in different directions. Yeah. So that's really a little bit of story on why and when and how.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. One of the next questions was, in what way has riding a cargo bike changed your life or your daily life? But I think you more or less answered that already in the last question. Eh?
Yeah, I think.
Would you like to add something to it?
It have changed. First of all, I don't have a driver license. It's not possible for me to get a driver license. So I've never been in the car loop, so to speak, in this very car-centric society. I've always managed to do my job without access to a car, more or less. Mm-hmm. So I have kind of like grown into that kind of lifestyle, and it's the same today. I get along perfectly with a cargo bike. Sometimes it's really nice to have access to a car. It is. But 99% of the time, it's the bike that counts. That's how it is. it have made me super happy. Obviously, I believe in sustainability. I believe in the future of cargo bikes. But one of the most important things is actually the happiness that riding a bike have provided me on a very deep and emotional level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, is the place where you live, is it bike or cargo bike friendly?
Wow, that is. It really depends on how you look at it. Malmö city in general is pretty bike friendly, both for cargo bikes and normal bikes. But if you compare it to, say, Copenhagen, it's like night and day. And reason for me to use Copenhagen as an example is because Copenhagen is very close. It's just 40 minutes with train from here, and then you are in Copenhagen, which is one of the most, or considered to be one of the most bike-friendly cities in the world. And there is a big difference. There is. Copenhagen is obviously a lot better, but if you compare Malmö to other cities in Sweden, then Malmö is super good. It is. It's fairly easy to get around. It's fairly small town. You have a saying in city that you can reach everywhere, or you can get everywhere in the city within 20 minutes by bike. Okay. And that is pretty much true. It really is. You can, if you have a decent bike with or without electric, you can get pretty far. And I've done that on both my Bullet and my previous cargo bikes. So yeah, it's a pretty, things are going forward. There's definitely room for improvement, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's all.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that's everybody I talk to who live in a city around Europe or even outside of Europe always tells this more or less the same story, that it's okay but it still has to be getting better, and but there's an evolution in a positive way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think over the past 3 years, especially during COVID, a lot of things have happened in many big cities. I mean, if you look at Paris, that's just like crazy what they are doing. And just, I think it was 2 days ago, I read an article about parking spaces in the center of Copenhagen. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
I think there is out of 1,200 parking spots in the central of Copenhagen, they are actually removing 600 of them. Okay. And that just to make space for bicycles and less car-friendly spots, maybe parks, trees, I don't know. But that alone is just like, wow. Yeah. Pretty much 600 parking spots. Bye. We like that.
Okay. Okay. So, and is there then a large cargo bike community in Malmö? Do you like, for example, we have here in Antwerp, we have like a Bullet community that consists of about, I think, 300 members, more passive members, and like 25, 30 really active members who come together once a week or once every 2 weeks to meet up and have a ride. So does something exist like that also in Malmö?
Not for cargo bikes, no. There is no cargo bike dedicated community in Malmö. There is no. There is plenty of cargo bikes and people riding cargo bikes, different companies using cargo bikes, but there is not a dedicated community or group of people. For the half part, I think roughly the half part of last year, we have started something called Social Ride, Malmö Social Ride, which is a community for everyone. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter if you have a one-wheeler or a three-wheeler, if you have a super hardcore gravel bike or you have a old vintage bike. It doesn't matter. But we try to get out every Saturday and just ride. And that is one of the active communities. Then there is a gravel community, and then you have different kind of regular bicycle clubs, kind of like racing, road racing, but no cargo bike
really
dedicated.
No, dedicated.
Unfortunately, because when I look at Amsterdam, I look at Germany, there's so many great communities out there. But the market is also bigger. There is a huge market outside of Sweden, especially in Germany and Holland. So but I'm working on it.
Okay.
Maybe one day I will get something going. Let's see what happens.
Okay. I'll have a look. What's the next question? What's the most memorable experience you've ever had on one of your cargo bikes up till now?
Wow. Oh, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Well, one of the... Does it have to be the best or the worst, or is it just memorable in general?
Yeah, it's memorable in a positive or in a negative way. You can choose. It's up to you to choose the one.
One of the most memorable or exciting experience I've had was when I went to Velo Berlin. I think it was 2019, and first of all, I went there for like a 24 hours go. I took the bus, the night bus to Berlin, and I arrived at Velo Berlin, I think it was 9 o'clock in the morning, basically no sleep. And then I went all day at Velo Berlin and then the bus back. And I went there without any expectations at all. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go down there and do some content and test some bikes and just have fun. And I got hijacked or kidnapped by Backfist Blog. Jan from Backfist Blog. I met him down there, and before I know it, I had a test bike and I was on a run on a tour guide or guided tour in Berlin together with some other, they call it influencers, and I don't consider me to be one, but I ended up in this loop, and we were driving around in Berlin, and that was quite exciting. And then back home in the evening, that was super excited. Obviously, Svejerloppet, the cargo bike race in Copenhagen, is also and will most likely be some of the best experience I've had. When we're talking about the worst experience, that was probably the last critical mass I went to. Not a few days ago, I posted a brief video about it. The drivers in Malmö.
I saw it with the cars driving through the bikes. I saw it.
And I mean, I've had my fair share of close calls in Malmö, definitely have. But after that ride, that critical mass, I received footage from different kind of people who have just been filming, like everybody does on critical mass. And going through all that material, I actually realized that I was this close to being hit by cars 3 times. And that was really a wake-up call for me. I have 2 kids and I value my life a lot. So after that, I did some really consideration in regards to critical mass and attending critical mass, and have also been starting to use a helmet and I'm going to be riding more with helmets from now on. So that's kind of the experience. And I mean, I've had so many, and I've met several people, and there's still a lot of people that I really want to meet, but it's not easy always to make that happen.
No.
To make that happen.
No, and they're spread all over Europe, so it's not always behind your own corner.
And there's New York as well. Maddie in New York, she's doing a terrific job just putting New York from a cargo bike perspective. Really amazing what she's doing. And the global community is just so fantastic. And there's so many great people out there doing something or doing their own thing. And it creates so many memories. It really does.
Okay. Yeah, I've met Maddie last summer.
Yeah.
She visited Antwerp, so I took her on a weekend to show her a bit around in Antwerp. It was they were nice people. Yeah. And her husband Jeff and the kids. So it's Also, she does a good job. Also.
It really does. Also, one of I can't forget. I mean, I have so many memories, but another memory is the bike vacation I did during COVID on a Clockwork. I didn't have my Bullet back then, but I borrowed a Clockwork and I went on a bike vacation with my partner, and that was also a very memorable experience actually. On the first day we were going almost 120 kilometers, and the plan was actually to take that first day ride by train, but we couldn't go by train, so we just thought, well, let's just do it 120 kilometers with packing, and it showed to be quite a challenge, especially if you're not used to doing that. So that was like an 8-hour ride. I think it was 8 hours with just 1 hour break on the way. And my knees were not very good when I arrived, but it was all worth it so much because it's just so enjoyable to be out in the nature. It really is.
Yeah. Okay. Nice story. So okay, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so what would you tell somebody if you would try to convince him to leave his car behind and switch to a bike or a cargo bike instead?
I would tell that person that the lifestyle around only using a cargo bike provides a lot of joy and happiness, much more compared to the car-centric lifestyle. This is especially for kids or family with kids. I have experienced so many joyful moments of riding with my kids. Being out on the streets, laughing, joking, ice paper, chips, helmets, and whatnot in the load, and the level of happiness, and it's so important. I cannot emphasize enough on this. Happiness. It provides a lot of happiness because it is a slow down way of living once you jump into the cargo bike. You can't stress the same way as you get stressed driving a car. You simply just have to accept it and embrace the way of living and driving with a cargo bike.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
You've convinced me.
You don't need any convincing. You're already there. I can see, and I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
So
that's
that would probably, and obviously it's a lot cheaper. It is, especially if you live and work in town. You save money. You do that if you do the comparison. Let's not go into details, but it is cheaper. End of discussion. It is that. I can understand people who work commute a long way and actually need a car. I can completely understand those people who say, okay, we can't do it on a cargo bike. So yeah.
Which cargo bike do you own, or maybe you own more than one cargo bike, and why did you choose for that brand or type of cargo bike?
Yeah, the first one is a cargo bike from a local Swedish company, and that is the one I bought in 2014. Back then I had basically no knowledge, no experience of the different brands. It was pretty much like, what is everybody else riding? And I got this tricycle, or not tricycle, but trike. It's a three-wheeler, classic box bike with a box in front. There's plenty of pictures on my page. And it was fairly cheap. I think it was just around 1,800 euro, I think. Maybe a bit cheaper. I'm not the conversion. I'm not good with the exact metrics and the currency. And I had that bike for quite a long time. And it's, considering the price, it have definitely added a lot of value. I have gotten a lot of value for my money. And I have also spent a lot of money on renovating that bike, which leads me on to the next bike, which is the Bullet from Larry vs. Harry. And that bike definitely have a name. Everybody knows it. It's one of the bikes that bike messengers across the world uses a lot. It have a history, and it is a quality bike. And it's what I like the most is the fact that it's just a well-built, high-quality bike. There is not, obviously you can get the electric one, but it's just a bike. It's a really, really well-built, good bike. And you can fix so much on it yourself. You don't need to go into some high-tech technician. But I think it was when I tested the Ginkgo bike. I can't remember that was 2019. Already back then I knew about the Larry vs. Harry, and I knew it would be a very great bike because it's very popular for a reason. And I tested a few bikes in, the first one I tested was in Copenhagen, I think it was Copenhagen. I tested the Larry vs. Harry for the first time, the Bullet for the first time at the Copenhagen bike show. Was it 2018? I can't remember. And back then I also tested Velolab bike, and I kind of like made my decision back then. Fast forward to roughly 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago. Some changes in my financial situation happened, and I bought the Bullet, and I'm super happy with that bike. It really is. It's definitely a bike I will recommend to anyone, basically. But it's also a matter of need. I think it's very important to purchase a bike, or get a bike that fits your need, because not everybody needs a Bullet. Not everybody actually needs a Urban Arrow or a Cargobike Monkeys or a Trio bike. They can work pretty well with a super budget bike for their needs. So needs is important if you're talking about getting a bike. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think so. Okay. So, okay. So, what's the most special item or object you ever moved on your cargo bike or one of your cargo bikes? Except for your children, then, because.
Well, I've moved trees, I've moved shelves, beds, special objects. It's not really special, I guess, but it was quite a challenge. When I used my old bike, we had a speaker, a homemade speaker system that was connected to a car battery. A car battery is pretty heavy, and we loaded that car battery in my old bike, and then we put the speaker on top of it, and the whole installation was quite sketchy. It was pretty heavy and unstable and very DIY. That was one of the most exciting and fun loading memories. Apart from that, I mean, I've done my delivery of bread and trees and shelves and moving boxes and people. I've rode with a grown-up kid and a dog. So yeah, that's basically the most special, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So okay. And now the final question.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you or could you describe your ultimate cargo bike? An existing brand or type, or something completely self-thought, maybe.
I love the trike in general. The classic box bike have a special part or a special place in my heart because that is where I started out. But from my perspective, the market is lacking a well-built, not too technical, fairly budget-friendly trike. There is some great trikes, box bikes out there, definitely are. But I think they're missing something, and I'm looking at the Swedish market in general. I'm speaking from the Swedish market perspective, what I'm seeing here, because obviously Butchers and Bicycles or the Black Iron Horse are super good bikes, just to take two examples. But I'm missing a classic box bike with high quality components. That is what I would love to see on the Swedish market or in the marketing in general. There are some trikes out there with the tilting functionality, which is cool, but I would love to see like the classic where you flip the whole box around. Christiania is definitely down that road, but I think there is level for there's space for a lot of improvements. I would love to see a trike, a box bike with some SRAM gear system or some pinion, like really good stuff. That would be super great, I think. Yeah.
Okay.